I gave you, in your packet, in your budget packet, you do have your monthly financial statement summary for July, or for May 2020. But I've also, and it looks, and you can see in the red column, looks pretty bad. But remember, the other colored copy that's in your packet is what we had proposed for the budget adjustment for the revised budget that we'll be doing for the mid-year budget review, or something close to this. Anyway, that shows more of the balanced budget that we're hoping to do. So anyway, just wanted y'all to keep that in mind when we're looking at this, that even though it looks bad, this is not what we have been working on for the last 6 weeks, I guess, on there. And I say we, the council, in our budget meetings and everything. So, but Lonnie, you want to kind of hit some of the highlights that you see?
Well, first off, of course, like you said, this one sheet is what you're proposing, and what you proposed on June the 8th. And by the time June the 8th was here, of course, this budget was already, it was completed, and so that's why this is the original budget that was proposed. But if you look down through there, of course, the revenue is down quite a bit. And you can look back at the sales tax and tell the reason for that. The expenses, of course, are down quite a bit also. We should be at 41.53%, and overall for the general fund, we're at 37.31%. So you can see we're substantially under because we started cutting before we started cutting expenses before it actually came to council and and the adjustments were made. But then you go on down, the street fund, of course, there was substantial street work done, and that was paid in this this May budget period, and of course that put that in the red quite a bit, but there was quite a bit of money in the account, and still is, quite frankly. So when the 243,000 was what had come in for streets, then we go on down to general capital, and that's a matter of transferring funds, and of course we're doing no more capital expenditures this year. Court automation, of course, we have no real control over that. And the fireman's pension, they have money, it's just a matter of transferring it in. Then you go on down and the water sewer, and you can see that we pulled out what the I&I funds in both water and sewer, and those, of course, are suspended until what?
I think it's September.
When did we suspend those until, Mayor, do you remember?
I think
Yeah,
it's
I
still
funds.
September.
I think so. Yeah, September, I believe.
Anyway, so we had a partial collection in May, and with the I&I funds being included, of course, we were in the black. But if you pull, and in the water, if you pull the I&I funds out, we were 38,000 in the black, and of course the sewer, when you pull the I&I funds out, was in the red, and so that's pretty typical the way it's been. And of course, we suspended shut-offs and penalties, and those will be going back into effect in July, I believe. And so, at any rate, and of course, that hasn't been as much money as I had anticipated, quite honestly, that would be delinquent, but nevertheless, there is some out there that we will be collecting. So, at any rate, and of course, over in the back, you have the sales tax reports, and the easiest one to read is the one that's goes through May, which is it's 10 years, but actually the graph at the bottom is through May, and you'll see there that our sales tax was down 18.31% over the previous month last year, or the same month last year. But we were really doing well, of course, as we have talked about before, and even at that 18% decrease, we're still up 7.2% over the previous year. So,
That was just a 2-week shortage, right? Because that's essentially
I'm sorry?
March. Isn't that just a 2-week shortage on, like, full-
Essentially, yes.
Okay, so we'll have the same thing probably happen in May? Because that was about 2 weeks too, wasn't it? Before we were opened up around the middle of May?
It was, and of course, we have not received the April yet.
Right, that'll be the worst.
That'll be the worst, and typically we receive it around this time of the month, but I guess they're running behind also because
Oh, yeah.
we get an email and we haven't heard anything. We have to go to the website, and of course the treasurer usually gets. I think they've quit sending out those receipts.
True.
So April's going to be the worst. May it's going to pick up a little bit. I think June will look substantially better, at least from what I'm seeing. And
Right.
of course, you all have a better handle on that than me. But when we do our mid-year, I think we need to do a very thorough review and not just take what we've done here and adopt that. I think we need to do a really thorough review, and I think we'll have a better feel for what sales tax, unless we have a recurrence or something. I think we'll have a better idea of what our sales tax is going to be. So. Questions? Comments?
So I have a question for you. We did the budget reduction, the first one on May 25th. We voted to reduce that budget. And I thought that meant it would be implemented. So I learned tonight, nothing has been implemented until we actually do the mid-year budget adjustment.
No, it has been implemented, Bob. You just don't have it here in your hand.
Okay, so the department heads are all working with that reduced budget?
They have a paper copy
Uh-huh,
of that reduction,
right,
and they're working from that.
okay,
We didn't put it into the computer because May was already over for the most part, and I personally would like to see us do a very thorough mid-year budget, June, before we actually put it in the budget and do a formal, if we can do that, because I think that'll give us a better picture
right,
of where we are.
yeah. But, our mid-year budget review doesn't usually happen until like August. Is that,
And we're going to try to expedite that.
okay?
Do you want to do a longer workshop than the 45 minutes?
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
I mean, if y'all want to, but I'm good with 45 minutes. I think
Okay.
we can cover it unless there are questions that happen to come up. And should you want other department heads to come in, so you can talk to them and get their feel. And, but that's up to the mayor and whether y'all want that or not.
So I can't think of a word that makes it sound better, but are you essentially saying we really should just kind of scratch what we've done in May and June and just start looking totally anew at the end of June?
No, I don't think we should scratch it.
Uh-huh.
No, I don't think so. I think we should use that as a guideline.
Build on that, right?
I'm sorry?
We need to just build on that, right?
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Because see, in my opinion, Bob, we're gonna see, if things go like I'm thinking they will and like I'm hoping that they will, we'll see a bounce back in sales tax, you know.
Right.
Another thing is that, you know, on the refunding on the bond issue, that took place on the 16th of this month. And so we will be getting more of our sales tax back from the intermediary than we did before, because this company doesn't require a cash reserve. So we'll be getting more of our sales tax back from them.
So, and basically the May 25th has kind of been, I hate this thing, overridden by the June change that we made, the June 8th change. Because that was, we have like a total new budget as of June 8th we were looking at.
We're using the June 8th budget as a basis for our mid-year budget
Right,
review.
that's what I'm on. So that would be our starting point, would be that June 8th. budget.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Right. Now, let me tell you what happened in May. I brought forth a budget, and we had made some adjustments that were not, you know, everybody didn't agree with. So there were about three or four of them. So we took that back and reworked it to 3 areas, and came back then with these June numbers, and then you pass that.
Right. Okay. I just want to be clear on where my starting point is
Okay.
for the budget, June budget.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Bob, could you get a bit closer to the mic, please?
That's when I keep banging into it when I move it closer.
You don't need to talk with your hands.
Well, what I'd say, Bob, is don't move your hand so much.
Yeah, well,
Or put it off to the side a little bit?
I'm just gonna, I asked Melissa to please just kind of tap me on the
Yeah.
arm and remind me all the time. Tap. Okay, I'm working on it.
Thank you.
Somebody's waving at you.
Oh, did I not?
Okay, what else?
I guess it's wait and see now, isn't it, Lonnie?
It is, and I think we've got about as good control on it as we can have at this point.
As long as everybody keeps their belts tightened.
And I can assure you they're doing that. We discuss that every week. And so anyway, we're just we're moving along. It's difficult in some areas. It's difficult for me because I'm shorthanded and we're trying to get the phone and, you know, and so on and so on and so on, and do the keeping in the county work and pay the bills but we're making it. We're making it work. And I'm assuming, even though I'm not out there in the departments, I'm assuming that that's the same thing that's happening everywhere.
It could be a nice situation if we're going to be able to actually add some money back into their budgets at the end of June, you know.
It would be great.
Yeah, that'd be a nice thing to do.
It would be great. Absolutely. I was just discussing with the city clerk earlier today. One of the things that really concerns me on mine budget is because I cut back so far on the IT professional services that I just hope we don't have a crisis somewhere, because I really shaved a lot out of that budget, and so it's kind of scary because we don't have, you know, an in-house person. But keep our fingers crossed.
Do you have somebody on the back burner in case a crisis does come up?
We will, they're just a telephone call away, and they will do it. And of course, part of it is under our contract that we have, that we're continuing on our basic contract.
With BS&A? That
No,
one?
No, not a Computer Hut.
Oh, good.
Computer Hut. BS&A is just the accounting software. And of course, we've already paid for the service there for the full year. But that's just software service. So if we had a crisis, we back up both on the East Coast and the West Coast, like we were talking about today. So if something happens, either place, we've got our backup. We can be up and running very quickly. And that did occur.
Recently?
No, it's been a few months ago. But we were in less than 24 hours, we were back up and running. So. Okay, I'm going to sit down if you don't have anything else.
Do that. Sit down.
No other questions?
Nope.
All right. I do want the council to look at the last page that, where we're talking about the sales tax coming in. Well, we noted that we were down 18% from last year. Year to date, we are still 7%, 7.2% above. And that's just because of the tremendous growth that we've had the first 4 or 5 months of this year. So while we know that we're going to have this next month is going to be bad, I think with what's coming up, I think as Lonnie said, we're going to start seeing the rise back up pretty quick, you know. Probably won't make it back to where we want, but at least it's not going to be as bad as what, that it could be, I hope. So.
And you know, things, Mayor, along that line, we don't want to get, you know, overly optimistic, but actually things could potentially work out really well for us, because I've had some friends that have been traveling out in Colorado and some places that are similar to us, and they're just overrun with people traveling and on vacation and Father's Day and holidays and so forth. So, you know, it could possibly be that if we don't have a recurrence of some of this closure and everything, that we could really have a good year still.
Well, I don't generally make comments during council unless it's about law or something like that, but I want to mention that I have a family member who was very casual about the mask and, oh no, it's just the flu, et cetera, et cetera. He's tested positive for COVID, and 2 of the grandchildren are with him in quarantine. So it's getting closer to home, and it just, I will try to be polite, but I'm going to be pretty stern about the mask thing.
Well, I think one of the things that, or a couple of things along that line is that, of course, we know Benton and Washington counties both are hot spots, so to speak. And, of course, I live in Washington County, and I'm quarantined by my daughter and my grandson. I can't go to the grocery store or anywhere. But nevertheless, that being the case, I agree that we need to be not so casual probably about it. And the other thing is that it's kind of like Smitty says, if someone at transit tests positive, they're shut down for 2 weeks.
Yep.
So if someone of us at City Hall or whatever tests positive or whatever, we got a problem.
Oh, an immense problem.
So,
My daughter works at Regions Bank in Rogers, branch on Walnut and Dixieland. And, you know, they used to bring people in from other branches to work on Saturdays so that everybody just got 40 hours, but not anymore. Only the people that work the regular shift in that branch work Saturdays. And they don't wear masks inside there. If one case shows up in that branch, they shut the branch down, which,
yeah, and I think that's, I think, not in that, I'm not addressing that, but I think that a lot of us, myself included, we've been kind of casual about the mask and not wearing it and so forth. And so I think we need to be, I think we need to be really thinking about that and what the consequences can be.
I don't know what you guys are going to do in City Hall if one of you comes down with it.
Oh, it will close the city for a minimum of 2 weeks.
Yeah?
I mean, it's bad enough if a department collapses in on itself, but I certainly hope that does not happen to this community.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye, Lonnie. Drive careful.
Unless you're gonna stay and visit?
Actually, no, I'm going home.
We were going to get a pizza.
Oh, yeah, sounds good.
But we can't vote on what kind, so we cancel that.
No, we'll just leave it up to Lonnie.
Harry,
What, does anybody have
Harry.
the time? The
Oh.
See
time?
what, Bob?
What time is it?
20 to 6. I'm going to run over to the courthouse and get something to print out for you guys, make sure Kim gets it, so
is that Mr. Burt?
be back in a moment.
Okay.